Hello everyone, today is 2nd of March, now it's 12:30, middle of the day by Moscow time. I'm Levan Gudadze and this is my first update for the day in which I will share all the main news that are making headlines in Russian media outlets and Russian language pages on different internet platforms. There are quite a number of very important developments and news that I'd like to share with you for this moment, and I will start with a short summary of the situation on Ukrainian battlefield. According to reports from Russian media and Russian military channels, there was some progress on part of Russian militaries in Brics area, which is Zaporozhye sector, of course. And yesterday I reported about advances of Russian units on the northern western part of Verbovo. And today we have additional reports that Russian forces further improved their positions in this direction, which makes situation for Ukrainian units in northern part of Rabotina that they still are presented and in the fields, basically in between Rabotina and Novodanilovka or Malaya Takmachka, ever more difficult, and therefore most likely before end of this week Ukrainian units probably will be forced to withdraw from Rabotina, and they will probably try to establish new defense lines on Novodanilovka Malaya Takmachka line. Let's see how will things develop. When it comes to Avdeevka direction, we also have some significant changes. Russian military channels are reporting about significant breakthrough in Umanskaya direction. After Russian forces established full control over Toninka and Orlovka, it has become clear that Russian side had operational space up front on the western direction, and military channels are reporting now that Russian forces conducted local scale but successful offensive operation and advanced for several kilometers and are now on basically on outskirts of Umanskaya. I did not see any photo or video confirmation of this report, but probably because so many channels are reporting about Russian progress towards Umanskaya, I guess this information is correct, and during the day we will receive some confirmation of this. And also, of course, Russian forces increasing pressure on Semyonovka-Berdichi directions, and these two settlements most likely also will become under full Russian control in next several days, possibly before end of this week. It is becoming obvious that Kyiv regime's forces are unable to hold on to defense lines on Avdeevka direction. Initiative, of course, in Russian hands, not just in Avdeevka sector, but on every other sector of the front line. And of course, Chasov Yar direction, by the way, where Russian forces conducted also successful offensive operations and are now some 650 meters away from Canal district of the Chasov Yar. This is Canal district, and as you can see, by the way, this area is highly populated, used to be, and there are high-rising apartment buildings, there are industrial zone. So battle for Canal district of the Chasov Yar probably will take some time, but well, if Russian forces already are in several hundred meters away, then we can assume that battle for Chasov Yar has begun. And of course, Russian forces increasing pressure on Ukrainian units in Seversk direction. After Russian forces established control on Avdeevka, if you remember, I was receiving questions about which direction will be next area of Russian major offensive, at least on a sectoral scale. And I said my reading of picture was that it will be Seversk, and we are on daily basis receiving more and more information that probably this is going to be the case, and Russian armed forces will concentrate on Seversk now and for the next several weeks, maybe even months, to establish control over the Seversk and surrounding areas, because on this sector of the front, main and last more or less capable defense line of Ukrainian forces are Kramatorsk, Slavyansk, and to conduct operations towards this defense line of Kyiv regime, of course, it is necessary to have full control over the Seversk, towards the Seversk and the surrounding settlements. And this is it when it comes to short summary of the situation on Ukrainian battlefield. I remind you, dear friends, that military channels are providing great volume of detailed information about on daily basis about these local scale skirmishes, artillery duels, drone wars and so on. And I recommend those channels if you want to learn some more detailed information about developments on the line of contact. If you are not familiar with military channels, under this video in description box you can see a recommendation list of mine, of the channels that I follow, and among them you can see links to several military channels also, including Military Summary, biggest and I will say most popular military channel right now. And well, that's been said, let's go through some additional news. And for this moment, of course, breaking news worldwide is that Israeli side conducted a missile strike on Iranian consulate in Damascus and killed a top Iranian general. Of course, this is a major escalation in the Middle East in between Israel and Iran. Let's go through this information. Brigadier General Mohammad Reza Zahedi of Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, IRGC, has been killed in an Israeli airstrike on Damascus, Syria. The Monday attack destroyed the building of the Iranian embassy in Damascus, killing at least 6 people, according to the Syrian Arab news agency Sana. Iranian media identified the building as the Iranian consulate and their ambassador's residence. Iran's Tasnim news agency identified Zahedi, a senior commander of the IRGC Quds force, as being among the killed as a result of this strike. His deputy was reportedly killed also. So, as I said, a major escalation in the Middle East, very unfortunate developments. And Iranian officials already made statements that they will retaliate on this act of aggression from Israel. I was truly surprised to hear this information about strikes on Iran's diplomatic mission in Damascus. Seems like Netanyahu and his government, they are losing themselves. I mean, something is really wrong with them, because this is not normal, by the way. This is not normal. Clearly, you cannot target embassies of the countries that you don't like. It's, I don't know, man. I don't know. Every country now that has a good friendly relationship with Iran probably are in talks with Iranian leadership to make sure that Iran's retaliatory strikes will be in limited scale and will not provoke regional war in the Middle East, because well, that's how close this region to full-scale catastrophe is because of this next level of escalation from Netanyahu and his government. Let's see how will things develop, but well, unfortunately, it seems like Israeli leadership is trying as much as they can to provoke regional war, and their backers among Western ruling class. Anyway, let's continue. Vzglyad newspaper is reporting what I just said, by the way, that Russian armed forces are about 650 meters away from Chasov Yar, and the Vzglyad newspaper is confirming this, also reporting about this. Also, RIA Novosti is reporting that Russian armed forces conducted missile and drone strikes on military and logistics infrastructure of Kiev regime, and among targets was airfield of in Kryvyi Rog area. And according to Russian partisans, that airfield was used yesterday during the day quite actively by Ukrainian airplanes and helicopters, and I would not be surprised if later on today we will receive information about destruction of at least several aircrafts of Ukraine's Air Force. And I remind you, dear friends, that day before yesterday, Russian armed forces conducted strikes on another airfield of Kiev regime in Nikolaev direction. And according to reports, 3 Ukrainian Su-25 planes were destroyed during that strike. RT is also reporting that Russian FSB intercepts explosives that were hidden by Kiev regime Kiev regime secret services in icons. So Russian Federal Security Service FSB announced on Tuesday it had intercepted the smuggling scheme through which explosives were sent into their country from Ukraine via half a dozen EU and NATO member countries during their vehicle inspection at Ubulinka border crossing between Russia and Latvia. The FSB and the border guards discovered that cargo of Orthodox icons and other church goods originating in Ukraine were in fact disguised bomb materials. 4 improvised explosive devices along with 10 kilograms of high-yield industrial plastic explosives, 91 electronic detonators and parts of the RPG-7 warhead were found in the shipment. The FSB said the items had traveled from Ukraine through Romania, Hungary, Slovakia, Poland, Lithuania and Latvia before arriving at the Russia's border. All 6 countries are members of NATO and the EU, which have backed Kiev in the conflict with Moscow. Well, I will add with exception of Hungary and nowadays Slovakia also. Previously Slovakia's government of course were in full support of Kiev regime, but now new government of Slovakia definitely has different approach and calling for peace talks and negotiations. And Hungary never really supported this military escalation against Russia by NATO. But information is very important because how it's even possible that Kiev regime secret services managed to smuggle explosive materials and bombs through so many NATO member states before that car reached a Russian border crossing between Latvia and Russia. Something is definitely wrong in this story, and I guess hard to tell, but I would not be surprised at all if CIA and MI6 were involved in this operation of the Kiev regime, in this terrorist activity of Kiev regime, and they provided safe passage for this car packed with explosives through NATO member states. Otherwise, I cannot explain how it's even possible that car traveled through so many countries, NATO member states, without ever being stopped or checked. These countries don't have any intelligence. This car could explode somewhere in Poland or Lithuania or Slovakia or Hungary or Romania at any point. Are these countries controlling what kind of what is going on in their countries and what terrorist operations Kiev regime is conducting, including usage of their territories? So many questions, by the way, so many questions, and I believe that at least Slovakia and Hungary will probably demand some answers from Kiev regime. I don't know about other states that are in under total control of CIA and MI6 or Washington and London. Anyway, let's continue. RT is reporting that, well, several people were injured in a drone attack in Russia's Tatarstan Autonomous Republic. This is first time, by the way, if I'm not mistaken, when Kiev regime targeted Tatarstan Autonomous Republic this far from a border. It's 1,200 kilometers, I believe. So really kind of in one hand surprising information, in other hand not so much, because Kiev regime is conducting terrorist attacks whenever they can. But let's go through this information. At least 7 people have been injured in a drone strike on the city of Elabuga in the Russian Republic of Tatarstan. News agencies reported on Tuesday, citing local health officials. The region is located some 650 kilometers east of Moscow and had not previously been directly impacted by the Ukraine conflict. Tatarstan leader Rustam Manyhanov said Elabuga and the nearby city of Nizhnekamsk came under drone attack, adding that no serious damage was inflicted by the kamikaze aircraft. Their primary target appeared to be the industrial zone of Elabuga. Its chief manager Timur Shugivalev said that 2 drones were involved and implied that Ukraine was responsible. They attack shopping center in Moscow, they attack residential areas in Belgorod, they attack workers' accommodations in Elabugar. Those are the kind of people we are conducting the special military operation against, he said. Unfortunately, 7 people were wounded, no significant damage on the ground, but I guess this is not the last attempt of Kyiv regime to conduct terrorist attacks deep inside Russian territory. And all regions, by the way, all regions have to be, have to conduct some, have to take all the necessary steps, of course, to make sure that they are ready for any possible scenario. And as I said, by the way, this region is 650 kilometers away from Moscow and approximately 1200 kilometers away from Kyiv regime. I would not be surprised at all if investigation will share with us information that these kamikaze drones were launched from Russian territory, but maybe they were launched from Kyiv-controlled territory of Ukraine also. After all, collective West provides Kyiv regime with all necessary weapons and technologies, so that they might well be capable to producing drones that have a range of 12 or 1500 kilometers. Let's continue. RT is reporting that US Congress could pass Ukraine funding soon, according to House Speaker. The US House of Representatives is likely to vote on the 61 billion Ukraine aid bill with some innovations added after return from recess on April 9. Speaker Mike Johnson has said the Louisiana Republican has been under tremendous pressure to call a vote since mid-February, when the White House request was approved by the Senate. Speaking with Fox News on Sunday evening, Johnson signed that he might finally do so next week. So most likely, by the way, you all know my take on this whole situation with the 61 billion for Kyiv regime. I was saying from very beginning that most likely US military-industrial complex will use all its influence on House Republicans to make sure that they will receive this most likely last big paycheck from Ukrainian crisis, and that's exactly what's gonna happen. Significant amount from this 61 billion will of course eventually end up in pockets of corrupt US officials and on bank accounts of military-industrial complex in US. And US officials are not even hiding this. They are openly saying that a significant number, or even most of these sums, eventually will end up in US military-industrial complexes bank accounts. And by the way, before I continue, let me notice, if I may, that this channel, this small media project of mine with several channels and several programs, are fully subscriber funded, and I will be immensely grateful if you will also consider to support my work with small donations through PayPal, Boosty. This is Boosty, by the way, most popular platform among content creators in Russia. And you can also subscribe to my Patreon page, on which I'm trying to upload some extra content on regular basis. I have on Patreon not just second news updates. For example, yesterday I had the second update, walk and talk style second update. I hope community find it informative and interesting. And also I have non-political programs, by the way, on Patreon, and I'm trying to make from Patreon as interesting page as I possibly can. You can see all the links to PayPal, Boosty and the Patreon under this video in the description box and in the pinned comment. And of course, many thanks to all the members of our communities who supported and are continuing to support my work. Very grateful to you. Thank you very much. Let's continue with the news. And RT is reporting that Russia invites Taliban to participate in economical forum that will take place in Tatarstan Autonomous Republic in May. So let's go through this news. The Taliban has been invited to participate in an upcoming economical forum in Russia. According to Moscow special presidential envoy on Afghanistan, Zamir Kabulov, confirmed to TASS on Monday that Taliban representatives plan to take part in the event. The 15th International Russia Islamic World Kazan Forum will be held on from May 14th to 19th in Kazan, capital of Tatarstan Autonomous Republic, of course. Kabulov did not provide any further details, but said that cooperation between Russia and the Taliban government in Afghanistan on countering international terrorism is carried out on a regular basis. So there are some cooperation to combat terrorism. And by the way, yesterday during my second update for Patreon, I mentioned that at least for now, Taliban have been designated by Russia as a terrorist organization, Taliban itself. But of course, Taliban 20 years ago and Taliban today is very different. One may say they are in different positions. They have different approach. They changed much, and therefore, yesterday during that second update, I predicted that probably Moscow will make some changes to make sure that Taliban no longer designated as a terrorist organization. And today, Russian Foreign Ministry shared with public information that work is underway to remove this designation from Taliban as a terrorist organization. So of course, once this will be done, then cooperation between Afghanistan government and the Russian government will further increase, not just in terms of combating terrorism, but in economical, social, and many other directions. RT is also reporting that, this is very interesting. I mentioned this during the headlines yesterday and spoke about it during the second update, that Serbian President Aleksandar Vucic has said that he was invited to the Brics Summit. So Serbian President Aleksandar Vucic has said he will consider attending the Brics Summit scheduled for the Russian city of Kazan in October 2024. Yet again, Kazan, by the way, Kazan definitely is becoming one of the major cities on geopolitical map, which is great for Russia, great for Tatarstan. And during an address to the nation on Friday, Vucic checked the date of the Brics Summit with the Foreign Minister Ivica Dacier, who pointed out that the Serbian leader has been offered to the opportunity to attend. And this is this is interesting, by the way, because if you take a look at the map, so this is Serbia, of course, here, and this is Hungary, for example, and this is Slovakia. Both countries right now are maintaining quite constructive position when it comes to Ukrainian crisis. And also take a look at the Chernogorия. Chernogorия, of course, has a coastline on the Mediterranean. And if Serbia will increase its cooperation with Brics, I guess Chernogorия might follow suit, and also Hungary and Slovakia may join in this increased cooperation. And because Chernogorия, by the way, I mean, who knows, potentially even Bosnia and Herzegovina, potentially. What is important, that because of the coastline, of course, Brics may invest in these countries heavily, and these countries may not just benefit in economical terms, but they might benefit politically, so much so that Chernogorия, Serbia, Hungary, Slovakia may become a significant powerhouse in European continent because of their close economical ties with and political ties with the Brics. But this is too early to call right now. Let's see how relationships between Serbia and Brics develop first. I believe there is a huge potential there, and all these countries, by the way, Chernogorия, Serbia, Hungary, Slovakia, Bosnia and Herzegovina also, should think about these perspectives that cooperation with Brics will bring to entire this region. And well, that's been said, by the way, I will end this update with the TASS News Agency's report that according to central statements of Russian Central Bank, institution is actively monitoring situation on in Russian economy, and if they see indicators that economy is cooling down a little bit, consumer spending is cooling down, and inflationary risks are low, then central bank might make the decision to cut interest rates during the in several months time, which will be good for economy, I believe, because now interest rate is 16%, which is quite high, really. And well, maybe before end of this week, not week, by the way, maybe before end of this year, by the way, interest rates will be cut and will reach in best case scenario maybe even 10-12%, which will be significant, of course, for significant stimulus for economy to further to get even more active. Although, by the way, I read this information and it seems like central bank is really worries about overheating of the economy, which is also not really good. And Russian economy was definitely experiencing overheating and still are experiencing, probably. After all, we all know that, for example, unemployment rate is lowest since the lowest in record, and there are millions and millions of vacancies that are free, and there are not enough people to apply for this job. So economy definitely is still experiencing overheating, although this high rate of interest rates, I mean 60% is quite big number, definitely somewhat cool down economy a little bit. It's quite strange, isn't it, that despite Western sanctions, thousands and thousands of sanctions and all that pressure on Russia, here in Russia, issue for economy is not to overheat. That's how effectively Russian economy is dealing with Western pressure. But anyway, if I may, I will end this quite short update. Now, hopefully you will find this video informative, interesting and useful, and if so, please click that like button and leave some commentary just about anything, any topic. More likes and comments most likely will help me to deal with the algorithms on both platforms, on Rumble and YouTube, and will help me to reach wider audience. And for very same reason, if you can, please share links to my videos or my channels with your friends on any of the platforms that you are actively using. This is it for now. Have a great day and take care.